to the Love City Arts podcast. I'm Andre in the Flow. I wanted to create a space where artists could come together and encourage all of humanity through the arts. So welcome to that space. For more information, to follow my journey and the journey of all of our artists, visit andreintheflow.com and lovecityarts.org. Please enjoy today's episode, and thanks for listening.
Arts is an all-inclusive art service organization that is an artistic home for New York City-based artists. These artists seek to give their gifts back to the community in the service of love. They make music, share resources through workshops, classes, blog posts, podcasting, giveaways, and community organizing. They also gather to hold space and build community through music, art, and the spoken word. Our mission is to heal and empower artists and the community through renewal and transformation. And hopefully something that you hear from our panelists today and your fellow participants will strike a chord within you, and hopefully you'll feel less alone along your creative path. I started Love City Arts about 2 years ago to create spaces where creatives and non-creatives, although I believe that everyone is a creative, can circle up and find love, support, and camaraderie. Where am I? My notes. It was also something that was elusive to me when I first moved to New York City, so I figured, why not build it? Thank you for being here and creating community. We are not alone in our quest. The purpose and intention of this call today is to create a sharing space where we lead each other to our own profound truth. We don't have all of the answers in this space. Your teacher could be on this call miles and miles away from you, and they're not just the panelists. There are no right or wrong answers in this space. I hope that you all feel safe. If you don't feel safe at all during this chat, and that's a priority for me, that people feel emotionally safe, just ping us over in the Zoom group chat, and I will be sure to shut down whatever is not making you feel safe, because it's Love City Arts, and it's supposed to be a healing place for everyone. If you are an artist, community member, and a breathing human being, you deserve to be here, and your guidance and what you bring to the call is very, very important. I'm here to learn from you as much as you're here to learn from everyone. Feel free throughout the event to digitally raise your hand. I think that's an option that's here. This is my first time doing this, so we're just going to make it happen. I think there's a way that you can raise your hand. If not, send a ping over in the group chat, and we'll work it out. This is a free and open space. If you have questions that you would not like to speak, if you're camera shy, that's cool. Put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer those through the call. We will be each other's guru. Just to let you know, these calls are being recorded for replay, so keep that in mind. I would not recommend confessing to a crime on these calls. Just don't do it. And let's see. If you follow the call or have a video issue, feel free to come back. We will be here. All right. Just to let you know, I've also muted everyone while I did my spiel, so calm down on the background noise. I'll open that up in a second. So if you're talking back to me, I can't hear you right now, but we're good. So let's start with talking about what is imposter syndrome, and a Wikipedia definition of what imposter syndrome is. It's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite external evidence of their competence, those experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve all that they've achieved. Individuals with imposterism incorrectly attribute their success to luck or as a result of deceiving others into thinking they're more intelligent than they perceive themselves to be. And then it also gives a little note. While early research focused on prevalence among high-achieving women, imposter syndrome has been recognized to affect both men and women equally. Okay, so this all started for me when I got an email from my agent, my newly acquired agent, saying, hey, did you make the 3 o'clock deadline that I asked you to submit for today? And I said, oh man, no, I forgot about it. And I immediately went on this huge spiral of oh my gosh, like, you just got this recent opportunity and you're already blowing it. Maybe you deserve this recent opportunity. Like, what kind of singer, artist, whatever, are you if you can't even respond to an email? And I said, you know what? I can't be the only person that feels this way. Maybe other people in the Love City Arts community want to talk about it. And then I started looking online, and here's what I found, okay? Tons of celebrities feel the same way that we do about imposter syndrome. Tracy Ellis Ross says, I remember when I was dropped by my agents, early in my career. Tracy Ellis Ross told her magazine in 2015, they said I didn't pop when I walked into a room. At the time, maybe I didn't pop when I walked into the room, or maybe I didn't know who I was, but it was one of those moments in my life and in my career where I remember crying to my sister and thinking, I don't know what I can do about this career. This is too hard. And if doing this means that people get to make a comment on who I am, I took it very personally, and it was the beginning of a lot of growth for me. A lot of people think of me, what a lot of people think of me is none of my business. It kind of doesn't matter to me. I get to follow my own bliss. Tom Hanks says, no matter what I've done, there comes a point where you think, how did I get here? When am I going to discover who I am? Or when are they going to discover that, in fact, I am a fraud and take everything away from me? And then Meryl Streep says, you think, why would anyone want to see me again in a movie? And I don't know how to act anyway, so why am I doing this? I want to take a brief moment to allow people to take themselves off mute, if you'd like, and introduce yourself to the other people in the space. Of course, I'm Andre, Love City Arts, yada, yada, yada.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me? Yay, hi. I'm Alana Breakula. Andre says I should always describe myself as how I want to see myself. So I'm a writer. And I am someone who has, firsthand knowledge and experience with imposter syndrome, as well as anxiety and depression. I've basically been suffering through imposter syndrome since childhood. I come from, it was mainly kind of brought on, as I've talked in the articles that Andre's posted on Love City Arts, the website, by my mom, through deeper kind of dealing with, therapy and discovery, rediscovering, what were the issues with the relationship with my mom. I kind of saw the fact that, she had one immigrant parent, and that kind of brought on this hardships for her as well, because I feel like she suffered from imposter syndrome as well. So I feel like it was passed on. And sometimes we kind of forget that sometimes our lineage, our family history, all of these kind of things we deal with are, in a weird way, genetic. Not scientifically genetic, but emotionally genetic, I say, because you look at your parents, and as you're a child, you don't realize that, they're silently suffering and maybe not seeking out treatment. And then all of these kind of, issues you kind of end up dealing with yourself. So that's where I'm at. I'm learning to deal with it. I'm learning to forgive myself, and I'm hoping I can help others, learn to forgive themselves as well. So. Oh, Andre, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're going to come back in a few minutes. We're going to come back in a few and hear your presentation. I cannot wait.
Okay.
Anybody else want to introduce themselves in the space briefly?
Hey everyone, I'm Anne Michikotengi. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you all for holding space with me. Let's see. I am a facilitator of holistic meditative experiences, incorporating things such as yoga, dance, creative movement, Reiki, meditation, and just general opportunities to speak our truth and empower ourselves and each other. I also have, I deal with imposter syndrome on the daily, so that's what brought me to this webinar, not knowing that Andre was going to be like, why don't you talk about it on this webinar? So I'm grateful for the opportunity and looking forward to hearing the combo that everyone is contributing to.
Anyone else? Thank you, Anne. All right.
Hey, I'll just say a quick hi. I'm Tom Nichols. I'm signing in from Virginia, just outside of DC, and recent friends with Andre, and very excited about the work of Love City. And so I'm here just to sort of I'm a singer-songwriter and composer, and like
an amazing one.
Well,
an amazing one. Go on. I'm sorry.
Thank you. But like many of you guys have sort of dealt with not facing my true gifts my whole life. And you know, there's a million reasons why we can do other things than what we're called to do. So I'm trying to make that front and center going forward and help other people to do the same. So that's
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. You're awesome. Anybody else? I see a couple other people. You don't have to, no pressure, but if you want to introduce yourself and where you're from, now's the window. Okay, calling once, calling twice. All right. Thank you, everybody who's in the space. I see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 7 people, and I'm 8. So there's 8 participants here. Considering that I decided that this is something that I wanted to hold space for about 5 days ago, I say, woo! Yeah, this is fun. Okay, so coming up first on our list, and we're right on time, which is a blessing for me, is Alana Brake. Allah? How do you pronounce
Eula. Yeah.
I'm in the bushes. Alana Brake Eula is going to do a presentation about her blog entries and why they are written and whatever else she wants to share with the team for about the next 10 to 15 minutes, and she will also do the Q&A at the end. You don't have to fill it. I should say that too. If we don't use this whole time, if we get our work done and we say, hey, that feels good on my soul, we can go when we go. So don't feel, we don't have to be here the whole time. But you got 15 minutes, including your presentation.
Okay.
And also a Q&A if anybody wants to ask you some questions. I'm sure I'll have a few. Alana is a Love City artist, and she's also a writer on the blog. I think she's done 2 or 3 posts for us, and her first post out the gate were about imposter syndrome. So I said, why not come on and tell us how this all came to be for you? So take it away, Alana.
Okay. Well, like I said before in my intro, the way I you and I were talking, Andre and I were talking about, just mental health and, struggles in the city and just dealing with life. And then, we kind of started talking about imposter syndrome. And then he was like, you know what, that would be a great article. And I was like, you know what, that would be a great article too. And like I said before in my intro, the reason why I have so much experience is, this started, and I talk about it in the first article, with kind of around the age of like 5. I was a very good student throughout most of my school years, but that was the first time it kind of kicked in when I was sitting in school and the teacher gave me a test back and I got a 95. And I freaked out, and she was basically like, well, why are you so upset? Why are you crying? Because I was hysterical. She had to call my mom to calm me down. My mom had to come from work. And I basically blurted out, because my mother's going to be upset with me because I don't have these other 5 points. It's not perfect. You know, it's not 100%. It's not perfect. And just like I said before, thinking back, you know, because therapy helps a lot. I'm a true believer in therapy and kind of doing the emotional work and kind of speaking to professionals, you know, especially because I feel like we all need someone who's, you know, on the outside looking in. You know, sometimes, you know, friendship, talking to your friends helps, talking to your family helps, you know, they're great, but sometimes you just need that voice and that person that has kind of no stake in your life to kind of take a look at the situation and kind of, you know, put some fresh eyes on it. And, you know, just going over that and going over, you know, dealing with my relationship with my mother, who passed about 6 years ago. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of extra work because, you know, it's not like I have my mother here to kind of talk to and kind of, you know, confront and deal with the things I'm kind of dealing with it on my own. But just going to therapy, I kind of realized how, you know, her need to be perfect and not feel like she was perfect and feeling like an imposter was then put on me so early because, you know, she kind of didn't pick the career that she wanted. She liked nursing. She became a nurse, but that wasn't what she wanted to do. My mother was very creative. She could sew. She could literally make an outfit out of anything. She could make you a evening gown out of, you know, a potato sack, and you'd be looking like the flyest person in the room. But, you know, her father was an immigrant. He was a very dominant personality. He's from Jamaica. And, you know, he always told her, you know, that's not a career. Being creative is not a career. It's not a job. It's not something you should pursue. You need a quote unquote job. You know, you need to be a nurse or a doctor or a professional. So she spent a lot of her life being unhappy, but still trying to be a perfectionist in whatever she did. So just from dealing with that at such a young age and kind of working through, you know, everything my whole life, I've noticed that, you know, my imposter syndrome is pretty bad because, you know, Andre knows I'll write something and I'll think it's horrible. I don't understand why he's taking it. And then he'll read it and he'll go, oh, it's perfect. I go, well, what are you talking about? Because I don't feel like it's good enough. I noticed also that, you know, in the second article I talked about, you know, trying to get through creative blocks and how imposter syndrome affects that because you don't feel like it's perfect. So you kind of just go, well, I'm not going to do it anywhere. I'm not going to put it out. Through writing that one, I also discovered a really good author. Her name is Dr. Valerie Young. If you get a chance to pick up her book, she's written on imposter syndrome. And she basically talks about 5 subgroups, and there's the perfectionist, the superwoman or the superman, the natural genius, the soloist, and the expert. And I've noticed that I fall into the first, the perfectionist, and sometimes a little bit the superwoman, because I kind of, you know, think that I can do everything, and then I doubt myself, and then it just all falls apart from there. But the perfectionist is the strongest subgroup that I fall into, where I basically try to make everything perfect. And if it's not perfect, and if it's not going to work out perfect, then I just kind of, you know, throw it away. And sometimes when I find that you do that, it's wasted opportunity, because even if you don't think it's perfect, you know, someone else might read it or hear it, or, you know, or you're creative and you make things and, you know, receive it. And this might be what they need at the time, but you're taking all your gifts and you're just kind of tossing it away, you know. So, you know, sad things to say, sometimes I feel like, you know, I have wasted, you know, opportunity and things like that, thinking that it's not perfect, so why bother? You know, when in retrospect, you know, if I had just put out the work or did the thing that I was afraid to do, you know, it might have helped somebody. And, you know, as creatives, and like Andre said, everyone has, you know, creativity. Just, you know, it's not just, being a singer or a songwriter and, an actor or a musician. There's people who, are creative with their linguistic skills. They can talk themselves into and out of everything. And, when you find people who have gifts, regardless of what they are, imposter syndrome kind of takes those gifts away from you because you waste so much time thinking that the world doesn't deserve it. So you put it aside, or you hide it, or you throw it away. And that gift can be what somebody needs at the time. It could be that song that somebody needs to hear. It could be that beautiful piece of, carpentry, woodwork. Somebody might need that chair. But if you're suffering from imposter syndrome, your first reaction is to go, well, this isn't perfect. It's not worthy. I'm not worthy of receiving any of the accolades for doing this thing that I'm doing. And you just kind of push it to the side. So I feel like this, the work Andre is doing is really important. I also hope that people who kind of hear the word this is for creatives, don't think, well, I don't draw or sing or, act or dance. Everyone's creative and everyone needs to hear the message. And also I feel like in hearing that message, everyone needs to be spurred along to do, like we all say, do the work, get out there. It's scary. It doesn't always feel good in the moment because, sometimes like I suffer from anxiety. So sometimes in the moment I'm very anxious. I'm anxious right now. I'm just going to be, fully admit it. But you have to get through. You have to push through. And just know that this is a space of acceptance because Andre and you guys and, I love y'all. But, very accepting and, there's a lot of, love here. So,
yeah, I think everyone on the call would agree that you've done a great job. And what this looks like for you is you checking this off your list of things that perhaps you never thought that you'd be able to do.
Exactly.
But here you are. I want to ask you, what are your favorite things to write?
Like Lauren's my sister, by the way, for everyone doesn't know. And Andre know my sister, but she always teases me because I'm a huge nerd. And I've always been a little bit of a weirdo. So I love like weird science fiction. I love to write, stuff like that. I tend to be funny sometimes when I feel like it. So a little bit of comedy. I love to read fan fiction. I might start writing some because it's kind of a fun way to kind of take something that you see out in the universe, like a movie you love or a book you love, and put your own spin on it. Sometimes they're a little weird. There are some ones that are out there that are a little bit dark.
I want to give it up on this call for weirdos everywhere. I think that weirdos, as long as you're not hurting anybody, weirdos rock. And raise your hand also if you would like to see Alana's fan fiction, like read a snippet of it.
Oh.
I would be, see, there you go.
Okay.
See, that's your yes.
Okay, I'll just do it.
What do you tell yourself? Last question for you. What do you tell yourself when imposter syndrome starts speaking its loudest? Like, what's your number one thing that you try to do to, like, dig yourself out?
I don't really, it's weird. I don't really tell myself something. I just do something. Again, weirdo here. My favorite thing is TV. So growing up, I love TV. I love music. So if it's starting to speak to me in that way, I will literally just turn on my favorite song or something I'm feeling in that moment. Shaka Khan's always good, like to kind of get you out of this feeling of you can't, because her voice is so powerful. It makes you feel so powerful. So I'll just turn on some Shaka or, I'm an old lady, so I love the Golden Girls, but also I love the idea of, for older women who everyone, we tend to throw away our elderly in society. We tend to kind of push them to the side. And here's 4 you know, women in their 50s and 60s who are just living life so confidently, which is, we don't see that enough on TV nowadays. I'm not just talking about, older people. We're just talking about people who are in groups who get discounted, who, society kind of says, you shouldn't be here, you should be, at home, doing something else, living life and being, vivacious.
So good.
I hope we see more of that in TV, but
I love it.
That's what I tend to do.
And just to tack on to your takeaway, because the point of these roundtables is to always have takeaways. If you've not listened to Ain't Nobody by Shaka Khan,
exactly.
Just write that down, everyone. Find it on YouTube. Find it on Spotify. That would be Alana's gift to you. Thank you so much for your presentation. That's amazing.
Thank you for allowing me to present.
You did an amazing job. It's so good, so good. All right, coming up next, we're on time. Presentation by Ann Michiko Tangi. I called it Imposter Syndrome as a Healer. I don't know what she wants to call it. She'll tell you. A little bit about Ann briefly is that we met through Love City. Her brother played guitar for another singer that now lives overseas that we worked with at our healing gathering programs that happens at St. John's Lutheran Church in the West Village. And so her brother came in, was playing, and then he said, he's a really chill guy, like Ann is a chill gal. And he goes, my sister would really be into this. And I went, well, then tell her to come on in the room. And she came in the room. She's blessed us with her dance and her movement. She's a sister, friend of mine. She's a Love City artist. And I'm getting a little, I would get misty if I talk this way about all of you that I know, but I'm talking about Ann right now, so that's why I'm misty blue as the song goes. Take it away, Ann.
Thank you, Andre. So, gosh, there's so many things that Alana, even just listening to you, I'm taking notes. I'm like, oh, yes, that makes me think of this. It makes me think of this. Yes, right in that same wave. So I'll try to just blah and just speak from the heart. So, I would say that imposter syndrome has been a thing for me also since I was a child. I'm going to even go back further because you were mentioning lineage and ancestral things that get passed down and whatnot. I do believe that part of my imposter syndrome comes from my familial line. Going back even further, I've learned over the past, year or so that some of it stems from other lifetimes as well. Experiences that contributed to this idea that my voice is not valid, that my experiences were not valid because other people were suffering so much more, and that everything's connected. And anyways, that's something that I've realized has been passed down into this lifetime and that I have to work through. So I feel like, and also just, society and the different pressures we experience, I think there are a bunch of things that have contributed to my imposter syndrome experiences personally. So, as one thing that I do is I offer yoga classes, and I cannot tell you how many times people have expressed interest in me and maybe, getting, having me be their private yoga instructor. And there have been so many times where they would be like, hey, so what's your rate? And I would just freeze up and be like, oh, I'll get back to you about that, because I just didn't feel like I was worthy of asking for a certain sum, even though I would happily pay that sum to other people. I do pay that sum to other people whose services I value, but I've had so many experiences where then I would just back away, and maybe I just wouldn't get back to them. It's like I had this, up until now, as Andre always makes me say, up until now, have had this this mindset that I can't present to them my services in this way until I've worked on my website, or until I've done more research, or I've gotten more certifications, or this and that. I can easily grow a gigantic list of all of my perceived shortcomings. And that's just one example, but it spans into everything. And so part of my work as someone who facilitates holistic healing, meditative experiences for other people, is that it's a reflection of what I'm doing for myself and what works for me. And one thing that has come up for me is that I have to remind myself that I'm a vessel. And like you mentioned, Alana, you know, maybe you wrote a piece, maybe someone built a chair that someone needs to sit in, but they don't think it's good, so they go throw it away. I'm a friend of mine, I eavesdropped on my roommate's conversation once, and one roommate was not feeling worthy to share her art. And the friend said, she said, who are you to deny the world the opportunity to experience this brilliant piece of work? And I think that that's helpful to remind ourselves that we are vessels, and the energy that moves through us is to serve the highest good. So I'm at my parents' house in Louisiana right now, and I saw these quotes that I had taped up on my wall that I wanted to share with you all. They're some of my favorite quotes. So one of them is, when I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. And that's by Audre Lorde. I think that's very, very applicable. And another one is, and then the day came when the risk it took to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom, Anais Nin. And then I found one that I don't know, an affirmation I wrote for myself a while ago up on my wall, and it says, my love and passion are bigger than my fear. So I just wanted to offer all those words for however they may resonate with somebody, because we are vessels, and there's so much support out there for us if we will only be open to it and tap into it, that can help us to to lift ourselves up and fly and do what we're supposed to do, regardless of the fear that may be in the way. So one thing I wanted to share also is that when I was doing an exchange program in Costa Rica, I took a choreography class, and my teacher, Valentina, was amazing. However, she came in mid-year because the other teacher had to leave, and so she felt not on top of her game, and she would always apologize to us. I feel so bad. I wish I could offer you guys more. And she just had this heaviness about her perception of what she was able to offer us. Meanwhile, she didn't know she was my favorite teacher at the university. That class had such an impact on me. And I think back to that example, and it's like, if I could only apply that to myself more often, so that in the moments when I find myself apologizing for being who I am, or apologizing for being in the state that I am in, it's like, what if I just scrapped that guilt and whatnot and that shame and just showed up as how I am? Because I know, because people have shared feedback with me, that there have been many times where I have made an impact, even if I had no fucking clue until they happen to tell me about it years later. So I try to apply that to myself when I get into that mindset. Just, okay, flip it around. This amazing choreography teacher was able to channel all this awesome wisdom, even though she did not believe or feel that she was able to do that. So if it's true for her, then why would it not be true for you? So that's something that I find helpful for myself. Another thing is that I really believe that community is one of the strongest ways to help through this, because when I keep things pent up and I'm feeling like a fraud or feeling afraid to share, I tend to get this state of paralysis almost. And when I am able to talk to somebody who can see me as my highest vibration, they're able to encourage me so much and help me to unfog the mirror that will allow me to then look at myself more clearly. And sometimes I have found myself, when someone may say, oh, but you're so great at this or that, or this really impacted me, similarly to what you were saying, Alana, I have found myself going, oh, but they don't really mean that, or they don't really know what they're talking about. Surely if they saw me in a room with all these other dancers or movers or meditators or whatever, they would have a different opinion. And I've realized, when people in my life offer that encouragement, it's really, I need to just receive them as signs and gifts from the universe, that are there to help me out of this negative state. It's the universe trying to help me remember who I am. So when I can accept that and receive that and stop downplaying these reminders of how I can be great or how I am great in my truest form, that is helpful. Then I can apply that feedback instead of just rejecting it. So perhaps that's something that would be helpful to somebody here. Another thing, I do also believe that just the process of being vulnerable and sharing is really powerful. When I can open up to someone about what I'm experiencing, it makes it less of this paralyzing thing and more of something that can be faced, can be approached, can be worked through, and hopefully can be released. So I think even just having this space right now for us to share, it's having more moments like these, for me, has been helpful. I signed up to attend this webinar because I was like, oh, imposter syndrome, I need help with that. I had no idea that I would be, speaking about it more personally. So it's already, this is like, I know that this is healing for me. So I think allowing ourselves the chance to be vulnerable to each other, to open up about where we really are, if we're feeling that weight, that burden, can really be freeing. One other thing I wanted to share is when I got certified to teach yoga, some different things happened that the result was that my imposter syndrome flared up. I was afraid to go start teaching at studios. I was like, I'm not ready. One of my favorite yoga teachers, Mary Farah, she mentioned, look, yoga teachers aren't teaching a lesson to their class because they themselves have mastered it. They're teaching it because it's what they are working through. And so they want to share, they can relate to that, and therefore they want to share that with you. And I think that's so true, that everything is such a work in progress. So it's when I can accept that it's okay that I am where I am, and that it's okay that I don't have it all figured out, it helps to release the shame of not having figured it out, which then enables me to share more of what I can with the world. So so those are a few things that
That's wonderful. I love that we have the freedom to still work through things while putting ourselves out there. Like, that's a great thing. I want to ask, first of all, welcome Timothy, welcome Dara, welcome all of the people, Galaxy J7i, Mila, welcome into the space. Does anybody have any questions about Anne or Alana's presentations? Feel free to either type them into the group chat or come off mute ever so briefly and ask your question. If you don't have any, that's cool too. All right, wonderful. No questions means that you guys knocked it out of the park. That's exactly what that means. All right, so coming up next, our third presentation, before we have an open discussion, is about imposter syndrome and the stars, is what I called it. This cool cat that's on deck right now is Timothy Glenn. I could read his bio to you and blow you away, but I've been introducing everyone with personal anecdotes. I met this guy when I was barefoot and pregnant in somebody's kitchen in Tennessee, and what a time. And I found that even though I was in what I perceived to be, it wasn't the sticks. I mean, there were houses and things like that, and mailboxes and what have you. But while I was there, I really, really, really wanted a spiritual community. And I don't know whether it was the internet or word of mouth or how the two of our great magnets drew us to each other, but I ended up being part of his spiritual community that he can tell you about in Tennessee, and really feeling uplifted. He's personally counseled me. He's helped me over many a hump, and maybe it was already going on for him the entire time. Like I said, he'll tell you. I realized that he really, really, really knew his shit when it came to astrology and spiritual practice. And so I'm happy to introduce the whole team here to Timothy Glenn. Come off of mute, brother, and talk about you know how to. I'll bring you off of mute. Here we go.
Okay.
There you are.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, wow, yeah, I was listening and I'm wondering who you're really talking about. Maybe that's imposter syndrome, right? I don't know.
That's exactly what it is. Go on.
But yeah, so I am actually the co-founder of Leadership Institute for Transformation and Empowerment. This is a spiritual community in Jackson, Tennessee that was started with my wife the day after we got married. Okay, so that was like, we got married on July the 20th and the Institute was started the 21st. And that was an awakening experience within itself, because it's one thing to do what you do and it be looked at as weird or strange, and then to do it in the South is, you know, a great testament to the presence of spirit, courage, and just, you know, a tenacity to really investigate things that people don't want to deal with. And so we specialize in dealing with shadow work, you know, and people from all over the world actually find us to do work with them. When people find us, it's usually when their back is against the wall and they've tried everything else. So why not look within for the treasures of wisdom and insight rather than depending on anything external outside of yourself? So that's just really a brief explanation of the Institute. We love what we do. We do miss you. We hope that either we can get there or you can get to us, you know, and we do remember the good old days meeting in the downtown library in those spiritual meetings. So thank you so much for having me here, Andre. Thank you so much for LoveCityArts, that your community as well. Such a beautiful thing that you're doing.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So tell us about imposter syndrome and the stars. How does?
Sure, absolutely. Well, you know, I would like to look at imposter syndrome as really the fear of success appearing as self-doubt, you know, and doing astrology, one thing is for sure, it's not like it's a select few of people who has the syndrome. When I look at astrology, and there are certain planets I can look at, not only can I make that statement that everyone on some level has imposter syndrome, but with astrology, you can look at the 12 different aspects of life, which corresponds with the 12 houses in astrology. There are 12. Each of them carry a level of experience with them. And when certain planets enter those houses, I can clearly see how that person will or is experiencing imposter syndrome. So with astrology, again, astrology is when you look at astrologers, it seems like we come with imposter syndrome. Number one, because of the religious resistance to the sacred science that we do. You know, so it's really difficult at times to explain this or even talk about this, or even calling yourself an astrologer, which I still have issue with. To those who don't know me, man, I started really speaking and ministering in church at the age of 15. Okay, this was what I was groomed for. I live in the South, preached all of my life, pastored churches, and met many great ministers, many of which you see on your local religious TV stations I've had the pleasure of working with. And then to have a discussion with my wife and talk about, you know, authenticity and doing what your heart is knowing you're supposed to do. That's another thing, right? So it seems as if most astrologers, I've never met one who didn't have this thing about, I gotta be perfect in every way, or else I'm not going to feel confident in what I'm doing. So yeah, you look at planets like Saturn, right? We'll just use Saturn as an example. Saturn is the planet that reminds you of the teacher. When you went to school, you were hoping a sub would be there, right? When you saw a substitute teacher in that class, you knew that was going to be a good day. Why? Because that teacher was a very strict and hard teacher that demanded reflection and accountability. Well, that's where Saturn is. When Saturn ends up on a house, on an astrology chart, especially the first house is the most important because it's the house of self. And wherever Saturn goes, it's here to challenge your fears. And I truly believe that humanity as a whole, we have a fear of success. We have a fear of the responsibility of being looked at as someone successful. It doesn't come off that way. Again, these things are hidden, okay? So that's why, we portray them. I see a lot of people who come off as self-confident, bullying others, when in fact they have imposter syndrome hidden within them. So they have to dial back and look at what's pushing and driving them. And that's part of the work we do. But again, this is a sacred science in which I do. I'm not sure I'll be able to get it all in today. I hope to be on quite a bit as you're doing these wonderful meetings, and I hope it's been going well. I'm just now getting on. So I guess that's just a brief introduction into the work.
Cool beans, man. Thank you so much. Round of applause. Yeah, that's so cool. Yes, and I guess you set me up. So if you set me up with the volleyball, I'm gonna knock it over the net.
Nice.
These will be going on every 2 to 3 weeks. The next one's on January 2nd. We'll talk about that later, though.
Cool.
That one's going to be all about courage, but that's in the future, and we're only dealing in the present moment on this call today.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. What are some, give us one tool that astrology gives us to overcome imposter syndrome?
Okay. So one tool that I believe astrology gives, like I said, astrology is like an X-ray of the soul. Okay. So when you go to the doctor, there's certain things a doctor, no matter how skillful, intelligent, and wise he is or she is, they may not be able to see what's going on the surface. So they go beneath the surface to look at anything that may be an issue. Astrology is the same way. We have several planets that give us a certain description of how your experience will be. For example, you're talking about going into courage in a couple of weeks. Well, that's where Mars comes in. But today we're dealing with the imposter syndrome. 2 planets they present themselves in a glowing way, which is Saturn and Neptune. Okay. So Saturn actually rules the sign of Capricorn and Aquarius. And right now we're in the sign of Capricorn. So imposter syndrome will be heavy from now on to Aquarius, and then on to Aquarius and to Pisces with these signs, because Saturn also rules Aquarius. So with astrology, we can look at those planets. If those planets show up in the first house, Neptune could be suggesting a type of illusionary reality that we have bought into. Again, astrology proves one thing to me, that humans can be easily programmed if they believe the hype, and every human is programmed in a specific way that they have to really go through letting go of certain programs in order to see that just because they have made a mistake does not prove that they are an imposter. Making mistakes, that is the price of admission to self-transformation. At least that's, that's just what we do. How else can God evolve unless we make mistakes and translate those mistakes into some experience of empowerment? So making mistakes is just part of the price of admission. It is not proof that you are an imposter and you don't deserve everything that you have. and everything that you work for. Not only are you qualified to be whatever you are predestined to be great. You were predestined for success. You are aligned in this way from the beginning of time. Astrology clearly reveals that to me, at least, and to those who I serve. Now, again, imposter syndrome can come from, there are people in astrology who don't hold my level of integrity, at least my belief of integrity. So then you have to compete against that. Those preconceived notions that astrology is not real just because somebody is using it for selfish reasons.
Like a Miss Cleo, for example.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on now. There you go. But yeah, so we have to look at that, and you don't want to be compared to anybody else's negative flow in the way they do things. So, you always worry about, will I be perceived as legit? Because, we don't really believe that we're qualified, but that's only because you're reading, the end of the book. Astrology gives us the first chapter. It shows us where we begin. And once you know where you begin, you'll have more control over your destiny, and you'll be less likely to be programmed into the collective belief. And I say collective, talking consciously. I believe that this is a type of virus that is within all of humanity. Viruses come so that healing can be revealed. Okay? They don't come just to give you a bad day or just to take pleasure in you being sick. These things arise so that we can create a means of healing. Okay?
I love it. Thank you. I think the church thing is still upon you through and through. For people that aren't into the woo-woo nature of astrology, I always tell them that if the moon in the sky, this is just my rationalization, so it's everybody. If the moon in the sky can cause the whole ocean to come up into the sand, I'm convinced that other planets and stars and things are having some level of effect too. So what greater lesser value, I don't know, but I know that I'm I'm not a scientist, I'm an artist. So what are we, like 75%, 60%, 90%, 100% water?
One of those, right?
So we're being moved. There's a reason why when I put the moon in something, I'm like, what is going on?
Always,
anyway,
yes.
I thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Timothy, Ann, or Alana at this time?
I do.
Go.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing session. Thank you for Alana and Ann and Timothy.
Blessings.
And you,
Blessings.
Andre, thank you so much. There were some common things that happened at the beginning, which made me think of that quote that I think Ann might have mentioned or something. But like in my world as a songwriter, like, write the song you want to hear. Andre created LoveCityArts because he needed that community. So he created the community he needed. And Alana, you're talking about writing, about not waiting for it to be perfect and stuff, like writing the things that you needed to hear about imposter, all of that stuff is your gift out. And then you were saying the same thing, Ann. My question for Timothy, there were so many great takeaways from what you just talked to us. That the making mistakes part and then the predestined to be great. There's what I've always wondered about, like there's two things. A, finding that thing you're predestined to be great at and believing that that's the thing that you're called to do. And then the second thing is, if it's already sort of predestined, like what are the things that we actually can do to help that along? And what are the things, otherwise sometimes you feel like, well, if it's already going to happen and if Saturn just moved in, then it's going to come any day. But like, we're not supposed to be passive in that process. And sometimes if you believe that it's, it doesn't matter what I do, it's already worked out, that sometimes causes me to turn the other direction and say, well, what could I possibly do to change destiny? So I wonder if you could just say something about how we contribute to making the destiny happen.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Great question. And I hope that I can present an answer that is extremely relevant to the beautiful comment I believe that you're suggesting as well. So it is my belief and understanding and understanding that in order to arrive at this planet, there are certain experiences that we agree to have for the soul's evolution. And looking at astrology, again, dealing with that, again, I don't really deal with the magazine-like astrology. I deal with true soul inner work and self-transformation, revealing oneself to themselves. And I truly believe that, just looking at astrology, there are certain experiences that cannot be avoided. And a lot of people, they get to this stage in the game of their work and they always make the comment, if I had known this, I would have done this better, or I would have made another decision, which I find highly impossible. Whatever decision that one makes, no matter how much resistance and hardship it brings, it was necessary and impossible to make another decision in that time, because just again, looking at astrology, looking at even certain degrees that one chooses to arrive in and incarnate in at one specific time where a sign was coming over the horizon, that tells me that that person will have a perfect life no matter what happens. And one can say, how, look at some of the things some of the trauma that I've been through, how is that perfect? Well, my question is, how did you grow as in your soul's awareness? Well, I've learned this and I learned that, and I was able to let that go. And that's all a part of the journey, So again, with me, just knowing that whatever decision I made at that time, and yeah, there's a lot of more ideas that I could have that may have given me a more pleasant experience, but not necessarily something that educated me and expanded my soul's awareness. Those are two different things. And I believe we make those agreements and contracts. And I believe those contracts are sacred. Just by my experience with astrology, we make these contracts with the universe, with God, spirit awareness, whatever you want to call that. And we make those agreements outside of time, because in time, the main focus for humanity is pleasure. I want to feel good. I want to have pleasant experiences. And I tell everybody, even a Ferrari needs brakes, no matter how fast it can go. So we need certain experiences that get, Saturn, those are like speed bumps. You picture you're really hungry. There's a restaurant there. You don't want to wait in line. You can see the restaurant. Nobody's there. You want to get there in a hurry, but there's all these speed bumps. These speed bumps are there because maybe there are children around that you're not aware of. Maybe there's an elderly lady trying to get across the street in that community. Well, astrology is like that. Maybe there are certain things that we're not paying attention to. If we just slow down instead of resisting our, unfortunate experiences, we can translate that into a type of wisdom that gives us guidance, patience, and courage through the things we go through. Okay, great.
Oh, yes. Any other questions in the space? For any of our panelists, today's conversation, of course, is about imposter syndrome, and our panelists have given us amazing.
Excuse me, Andre. Hey, I'm sorry. My name is Jeannie, and I've been trying very hard this whole time to unmute myself because I called on the dial-in, and Hey guys, I found that this whole thing is just certain things that I've been talking to about Andre with for like a long time, about just not feeling worthy enough or good enough to own things or say that or have ownership to it. And it like extremely bothered me the whole time. So it was enlightening to find out that other people feel the same way, or not saying, oh, we all bond through pain, but it was good to say that you're not the only one. Like Anne's story about getting her certification and saying, well, am I not good enough? I actually have my certification in dance, certification in dance, but I'm not utilizing it because I feel like I haven't reached a certain physique or a look. So,
panelists.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, Jeannie.
Yeah. So those were like some of my major issues and concerns at the time. So it was like something relatable because I was like, how did she get out of that?
So the question is to Anne now. How did you break through in your dance and movement and,
Yeah, so just making sure, is this the Jeannie I know? I don't see it. Okay, just making sure. Thank you. So for one thing, with the yoga thing, I think it was around the same time that one of my yoga mentors was saying, look, the teachers are teaching what they are working on. It's not what they've mastered. Somehow around, I think it was after that conversation, actually, Jeannie, that I called. There was this woman, Fee, this wonderful woman who had a studio at the time, and she had been asking me repeatedly, I would love for you to come teach or audition here to teach. And I kept saying, I'm not ready. And after I had that conversation with Mary Fair, I called Fee and I was like, hey, could I come audition? And I did. And that was when I started teaching at studios. And that was a few months before I moved to New York. And, when I moved to New York, I went through that whole process again. Oh, I'm in New York now. I'm in a new space. And I'm not worthy of teaching here. But, I think it was actually that same mentor who was like, well, you need a job. Like, you do your thing. Like she said, the perfect studio is waiting for you to call. And, it's just a reminder, like, that there's a teacher for every student. There's a student for every teacher. And even if we're feeling sometimes falling prey to the illusion that there is one specific state that we are supposed to be in order to be able to share our gifts. I think something that has helped me is also thinking of people who have influenced me and then having the opportunity to see areas where maybe they don't have it all together either. There are wonderful teachers whose classes I have taken, but who I would notice like, oh, well, this adjustment didn't actually feel so great, or, you just notice different things, and it's a helpful, for me, enlightening moment, because I'm like, okay, this incredible person is still working on stuff. So it's okay that they're still working on stuff. And if I were teaching somebody who wanted to become a teacher, I would never want them to feel discouraged. I would never want them to feel like they just were invalid. And, it's like, I would want to apply that acceptance to others. So can I apply that to myself as well? So I think, Jeannie, for me, a community of supportive people who are able to help me have a better, more helpful perspective. That's been something that's helped me to have these breakthroughs. And I keep coming up to it again and again. Like Andre and I've had multiple conversations over just the past few days where I've had my imposter syndrome sneak up, and by the end of the conversation, I feel so much more empowered. I think sharing space with other people who will support you and who can see you in see you as your most vibrant, amazing self can help to break through some of those mental chains.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you. Thank you also, Jeannie, for your question. Mia, you said that you had something to say. Come on in the room. Come off of mute. Let's hear you. You said, could I share my view on the topic you're discussing?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where are you calling in from?
I'm first of all, sorry that I can't turn on my camera. I'm just like kind of like getting ready, so I'm not a camera ready yet. So
it's fine.
So
Neither am I. You can see me.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm calling from New York. Like you can hear from my accent, I'm native Finn, living in New York, and I just like happened to see this invitation, and well, and I was just that sounds interesting. I'm gonna join. And the funny thing is now when I'm listening to this discussion and everything that turns out to be that the discussion is quite spiritual as well. And I happen to be, I call myself like an intuitive abundance and flow coach or mentor. Wow. And I use the word intuitive because I don't want to say clairvoyant, but basically I don't do like a readings for people, but like people, I can just, their souls, so to say, speak to me. I can, do things. So that's what I do now for work, but like my background is completely in business. Like, I was in corporate world, finance, all that stuff. And I've always loved connecting with creative people because like creativity comes from somewhere deeper. So like, I always feel that those creative people, they are connected to their soul, to universe, whatever you want to call it. And, it's been interesting also, like I have designed like a jewelry line. I haven't started the business yet, but like, I'm kind of like into creative things, although it's not my main job. And just like I have been on and off listening to this discussion, and if I share my approach, so I feel that like we humans always like want to have these concept of having some kind of like a syndrome, and it's kind of like telling yourself certain type of story that okay, like now this is my issue. Because I feel that when you are truly living in the flow, you are just facing the issues or feelings that come to you. You are taking a look at them, like where they come from. I feel that like what you have been talking about, like typically it's either comes from your beliefs, and beliefs are simply repeated thought, like something that since a child, like people around you, they just repeat certain things. Like here in the US, like it's really typical, just work hard and you can make it or get, and do anything or get anything you want. And I'm just like, I really don't believe in working hard. Like I believe more in working smart and working in alignment with your soul, your truth. Yeah. So like so when we talk, or you talked about this syndrome, like I somehow felt that it's either like it becomes from your beliefs, or then there's like a deeper issue, like your feelings, like some kind of like that you don't feel valued, you don't be worthy, that type of thing. And that's an issue, obviously, that you need to face, and you need to face those feelings, because what you resist persist.
Come on. Yeah, okay, so what you're telling me to do is basically throw my whole topic away, which I'm happy to do. If if the topic of imposter syndrome and the acquiring of having, like I have imposter syndrome, if that gets deep down in my soul and then starts creating more imposter syndrome for me, then yes, if I hear you correctly, Mia, like let's throw the whole syndrome, the name out.
Yeah, kind of, because like all our thoughts are creative. So basically whatever you repeatedly tell yourself or say that, okay, like I have this syndrome, or like someone was a writer here, like I admire writers, because I know that I'm doing this myself. Like I don't like writing, but every single time when I say that I don't like writing, it's kind of like I'm making it more and more happening. So like who say that like one day I couldn't love writing, It's just that, maybe for me, it hasn't felt the most natural way to express myself, but like still just like telling myself the story that I hate writing. That's actually what I'm also creating. So that's why I was just saying that, just kind of like forget the concept and just like sometimes it's good to maybe like if you could take this kind of like a top-down perspective to you, like just see yourself sitting there on the couch or wherever you are and just seeing like, okay, like now this person is feeling all these feelings and, where is this coming from? Because like, when you understand where it's coming from, if it's beliefs, then you just like, you can change beliefs. Like that's not a big issue. If it's just like you not feeling worthy, valued, whatever, there can be issues from childhood, past lives, whatever, but like those can all be resolved. Like you can always like face those and become free of them. So it's not that you have some kind of like a syndrome and you need to live with it for the rest of your life. And also like you never become ready. Like this is like, lifelong journey. So like, even if you don't have this type of issues for 10 years, like maybe there's another level from you coming up. And then again, you face these feelings for a while. So it's not like that you either have something or you don't have. Just like, I would say just that go with the flow. And also when it comes to the concept of perfection, like, how either everything is perfect in this universe or nothing is perfect. So like, someone's work or piece of art, song, like how can anyone say that something is perfect or not perfect? Because like, basically, like I personally think that everything is perfect in the universe. So like, but like some may think that it's not perfect, but like, perfect always means that you are comparing something to someone. And then so it's kind of like that, where do you have the comparison point? Like where are you comparing to? Like there's always like, you can always find something that's better or something that's worse. And like if something is perfect to you, it's not maybe perfect to someone else. So how like I feel that the whole concept of perfect or perfection is also something just like that we should forget, because like no matter what you do, like your writing or piece of art, it's never perfect to everyone.
Yes, I agree. And that's a perfect segue, because I had a couple notes that I wanted to say about imposter. Well, let's not even call it that anymore. The thing. I don't even want to label myself with imposter syndrome anymore. I just want to get free, Mia. I just want to get free. I said, because, to piggyback on what you're saying, because there is no perfection or imperfection, and this gives us a prime opportunity to let ourselves off the hook. You can let yourself, everyone in the call, if like that hook, and for those of you who can't see, I'm pulling up my collar. You can literally let that go today. You can let yourself off the hook. Perfect. I'm better than. I'm less than. You can let yourself off the hook with the full acknowledgement that there's only one you. There's only one you in all the universe right now, and only you can stop your own show. I put in my notes, no one stops the show but you. And in those moments when imposters, that thing starts, creeping up, if you get an opportunity, watch A Wrinkle in Time, because they call it the It. Anyway, I've been talking about that movie a lot. So if you're into like, fun little kids Disney woo-woo movies that have a deeper meaning, when the It starts talking, let yourself look in the mirror. I dare you this week, when the imposter syndrome starts creeping up for you, I dare you to go into the mirror, all right? Put your chest back and say, no one stops this show but me. And I'm telling you, I've had issues with in LoveCityArts. I mean, I'm trying to get used to this IGTV thing, the endless promotions and telling people and advertising and Facebook ads and Eventbrite and all that. It's exhausting as a lot of the times. And then I immediately get imposter syndrome, like, but then I remind myself, or what about, what about this person and what they're doing, and what about this group and this. No one stops but me. I dare you all this week to do that. When your imposter syndrome starts speaking, say no one stops the show but me. And then always also know, if you've never read the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I highly recommend that book. One of the 4, this little teaser, I'm not going to give them all to you. So one of the 4 is to always do your best. And when you know that you're doing your best, and sometimes for me, my best is putting on pants on the weekend. Sometimes that's just my best. Right. Sometimes my best is, eating a sandwich. It's not flexing for the gram all the time. Last night I put up a picture of this awesome plate of food I made. You don't see me when I'm eating quinoa, or when I got the top ramen because I'm trying to make it payday. Real talk. But knowing it's, I'm like, how can you be the artistic director of LoveCityArts and you're eating ramen for dinner? I'm doing my best.
Andre,
yes.
Can I also share one more aspect, which I think that could be valuable to some of you?
Go off.
So basically, when you have this thing coming, it's always your ego or your mind speaking. It's never your soul speaking. So basically, if you think of it this way, how on earth can you say how valuable your work is to someone else? Who you are to say that why would someone want to read my piece of writing, listen to my music? It's kind of like that you are putting yourself above others if you are saying that. How can you say that, it's not valuable for someone else? You don't know. And it's your job is to focus on yourself and your own kind of an inner issue and your own gift. Because when you are putting your skill out there, it's you serving the highest advantage of the others and the universe.
Yes. Thank you. That's a perfect bite for this thing before I go into announcements. I'm going to meet everybody again. Because I heard trains, planes, and automobiles coming through the through the room. I want to thank everybody in this space for showing up for yourselves today in this way. Let's see. Thomas, okay, one second. Thomas said, the fear of success appearing as self-doubt. That's the quote. Also, Kamara above says, I just wanted to say this conversation was hitting on so many vital points for me. Cam is off because she's in bed. Trust me, I'm about to go back to bed myself. And the mic is off. Wishing to listen. Thank you for being here, Kamara. So amazing. Everything that she's been contemplating. This is the first meetup event, and you're not disappointed. Well, guess what? This is my first time having something like this online. So I'm glad you're here, and we're going to keep coming back for more. Thank you for being here. For those of you, here are my church announcements, y'all. For those who would like a weekly source of accountability and check-ins, I've created a systematic approach through the use of a mastermind alliance. I didn't invent mastermind alliances. Someone chime in on the side and tell me who did real quick. It's is it Joseph Campbell? Somebody, I don't know. Anyway, it's an opportunity for us to vision together and get really clear through accountability for the execution of our dreams. What I do is give a little weekly assignment, a little inspirational article to read, and then on Tuesdays and Saturdays, I ping you through the Band app, and I say, hey, Alana, hey, Ann, how's it going? Tell me about how your dreams are moving along. So that's Mastermind Alliances that I do with weekly check-ins, donation-based as well. If you get to the end of the week and you're like, you know what, this has really, really moved my shit along, then just drop some, dollars in the bucket. For those of you who would like to be in the know about future programming, such as the one that we share today, please visit LoveCityArts.org. Enter the site and sign up for the digital mailing list. I'll be sending out newsletters better in 2019, but I will not spam you because I often forget to do it. There's going to be a digital passing of the hat. I'm going to send a follow-up email to everyone who participated today. In that follow-up email, there's going to be an announcement of the next roundtable that we're having on same time on January the 12th, all about finding your inner courage. So there'll be a link to that. There'll also be a link to a donate button in case you want to drop $1, $2, $5, $10. Drop whatever you want to drop if this has meant something to you the same way you would do at a donation yoga class. If you don't have it to give, send me good vibes. It will really help me in those moments where I'm like, is anybody listening, Lord? Do that as well. I'll send that link. Just to let you know, it's free to you. I don't even know how to address it. I don't want to be that sleazy church preacher. All I'll say is that to put up a Zoom meeting like this costs $15 per month. I will do this regardless because I love being here with y'all. But if you want to drop some ducats to help, there it is. That plea was so intense my iPad turned off. Also, please feel free to fill out the exit survey that's going to be on that email I'm sending to everyone. This will help us improve the offerings and make sure that we're giving the best of ourselves. Like if I've done something in this room that really, really annoyed you, I don't want to do it anymore. So please fill out. It's like a 10-question, 3-minute survey. Please, please, please fill it out so I can get better at doing these. I want to say a big thank you to the donors that we do have. For their financial support. I mean, we do healing gatherings, we do online offerings, we have a venue sponsor in Father Mark over at St. John's Church. Thank you to everybody, and thank you also to the Board of Governors. I don't want to call all their names because that's how I get in trouble, but they are the people that I'm constantly bouncing ideas off of, and I go to them and I go, do you really, really think that this project could work? And they go, yeah, or they go for it. My Board of Governors is absolutely amazing. They offer their support in the sounding board for me. Lastly, if you like the work of Love City Arts, please, please spread the word. We rely on you to get the word out about what we're doing. We're not peddling anything other than love and encouragement. That's as simple as it gets, guys. It's just pure love, pure encouragement for creatives, and I believe that everyone's a creative in their own way. So I'm just peddling love and encouragement, trying to like build bridges. I wrote down, if you're creative, and I believe we're all creatives, but if you're a writer like Alana, a healing practitioner like Anne, a spiritual mentor like Timothy, whatever you want to do, thank you. Thank you for that note, Kamara. Whatever you want to do, if you don't have a platform, this is me, the platform. If you don't have a platform to get word out about your gifts, if you don't have a platform or encouragement or person in your life that's pushing you creatively towards your goal, that's what Love City is for. I will build it for you. Well, not necessarily for you. Life is, I got, time is not, 24 hours. But I will help you build Alana said, Dre, I love writing. I want to write. I said, write something and we'll put it on the blog. It doesn't even have to be a Love City Arts thing. Ann and I are working on some stuff, that we're boosting her as well. So if you want to do this, don't let the I don't know how or the no one won't help me, don't let that stand in your way. We will build it for you. I think it's a great thing that we're here. Please let your friends, family, and fellow artists know about our work if you're moved to do so. A link will be sent out for the survey, once again, to all registered participants. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. I see that Kamara is sending us all healing vibes, gratitude, collective and individual existences, and abundant vibes to all with a special emphasis to me. Thank you. That we can continue to grow. Look, last 30 seconds. This is not about me. I could weep on camera about this. This is not about me. I'm so grateful that the universe has decided to gift. This ain't the time to cry. To gift Love City and to me. But I have to just say that, like, being here with all 10 of you on this Saturday afternoon, working through the things that causes us to get stuck, that's what this is about. This is not about me, but I will take the blessing all the same. And Love City, in the exit interview, let me know how to reach out to you, because I'm building, there's also a portal that's on the website so that when all of us want to talk in between roundtables and stuff, we can check in on each other. So I'll send you the link to that as well. Hope to see you next time in person and online as we share the love with each other. Thanks, everybody, for being here for the first one. I bow to you.
Yay!
Take care, everybody. Happy Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too, Jay. Happy Saturday, everybody.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, I want to invite you to like, share, comment, and tweet about this episode. Your comments help me to make this podcast the best that it can be and continue to share the love. Don't forget to pass this episode on to someone that you may know that might need an extra pick-me-up as well. Also, feel free to visit LoveCityArts.org. We've got more episodes, monthly giveaways, upcoming in-person events, uplifting blogs, and a book club on the way. Love City exists to uplift artists, the ones that love them, and the inner creative genius in us all. Thanks so much for listening, and stay tuned for another uplifting episode from the Love City Arts Podcast.